guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel we like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. Now, I really enjoy eyeshadow singles, duochromes, multichromes, blush, highlight, lip gloss, basically everything except pressed glitter. And today I am so excited to be filming a collaboration video. So this video is in collaboration with Crystal Lynn, so I'll put her picture up here. And she is an absolute sweetheart. She just hit 1,000 subscribers, so congratulations to her. That's really awesome. She does videos about makeup, beauty, she does a lot of hauls, she does some fashion, she does a lot of different cool things on her channel, so you'll definitely have to go check her video out. I will make sure I leave her information and her video link down below as well, so you can definitely make it a little easier to check her channel out. Today we are going to be talking about the makeup that we would have if we could only keep what fit into a makeup bag. And while I advocated for the suitcase sized bag, we decided it would be appropriate to have a reasonable sized makeup bag. This was as small of a reasonable sized makeup bag as I could work out though. So let me open this bad boy up and let's talk through what I would keep out of my collection if I could only keep what was in a makeup bag. Alright, and so the bag that I chose to pick out is actually the Huda Beauty large mystery bag that came out I think this past year, and I picked that one because it was flat and wide, and one of the things that I have is a little bit on the long side. Spoiler alert, it's a bat. And so I wanted to make sure I had a bag that would actually accommodate all of the things that I wanted to pick out. So I decided to forego primer in my bag because I felt like typically what I use as a primer is mostly just a moisturizer, and if I could like leave that to skincare, then I had more space in the bag for other stuff. So I skipped primer altogether. For foundation, I only picked one foundation and one concealer, and the foundation I picked was the Pure 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie. I have that foundation on today. I really like the texture of this, especially when it sits over top of a moisturizer. I think it's a really flattering natural finish. The match for my skin tone is ridiculous. I use the shade LP4. I got this on sale after Raw Beauty Christie was talking about it, and it was half off on one of Ulta Beauty's, what do they call that, the 21 days of beauty, where everything's like half off for one day. That's when I got this, and I'm so happy I did. I think the next time this comes around on a sale like that, I'm going to snatch up a backup because I really, really enjoy this foundation, so that's why I made it into the bag. Plus it's like kind of a small bottle. Again, more room for balance. Can you guys hear my kids? The other thing that I decided to pick was the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. Now, as you can see, I've made like a pretty sizable dent in this one. This is the shade Fair Rose. I also have the shade Fair Beige, but I think this one is just a little bit better. It's not quite as brightening underneath my eyes. It's a little closer to my skin tone, so I do really like this one. And I think the two of these work really nicely together. It's the concealer that I have on today as well. Really enjoy that one, so it made it into the bag. I only picked one contour product because I almost didn't pick any contour product, but this one was so small that I was like, chuck it in the bag. And this is the Revolution Eye Bright Illuminating Under Eye Concealer, but I have it in the shade Deep Caramel. And I use this as like a stick contour here, and it works similarly to the effect that I see with the Charlotte Tilbury contour wands, although I don't own that because it's like $40 or something ridiculous. I don't need to spend that much money on contour. I like don't contour all the time, so I decided to pick this one out, and it was I think $9 or $10, so much more reasonably priced and small, so it goes in the bag. Now the next thing that I'll talk about is bronzer. I only picked up one bronzer, and that is the Flower Beauty Heatwave bronzer. This one I really like because it's just a little bit illuminate. You can see I've hit this pretty hard, like it's a little dirty. But it's nice and illuminating. It's not like shiny, reflective, metallic in any kind of way, but it gives a really soft sheen to the skin. I think it's a really nice color match for me in terms of like not being too dark, not being too orange. So I really, really like this one, and again, doesn't take up too much space, so that's why I picked this one out. Now for blush. For blush, I had a little bit harder of a time containing myself, so I actually picked out two different blushes. The first is the Milani Baked Blush in the shade Rose Doro, and it's this really pretty kind of like sunburny type rusty red color, and I think it looks really pretty on my skin tone, especially like just blended out really nicely. It gives like a nice little sheen. It looks very, very pretty. So I picked this one out for kind of like more of the warm toned blushy days that I wanted, kind of that sunburn vibe. Pick this one. And then for all the other days, I had to pick out a second one, which is the BH Vanilla Cream Truffle Palette. And it's actually 4 blushes, so I'm cheating even more by doing this. This, number one, it smells like vanilla. Love that about this palette. And you get 4 different blushes. They're all kind of in this like softer, cool toned, rosy mauve type blush family. That's typically what I gravitate towards for blushes, so I felt like having 4 of these made sense. And it's a pretty small, kind of concise little palette, so I decided to include that in for my blush selections. Now, highlighter is where we went off the rails. Let me tell you, I have 4 highlighters. Why? I don't know. But I couldn't decide between formulas, and I have multiples of each one, and so I was like, well, I better include all of them, which again is kind of why I had the big bag. But the first one that I'll talk about, this is the Nabla Skin Glazing Highlights. I have the shade Privilidge, which is kind of like a pink, peachy, gold duochrome type shade. And I have the shade Ozone, which is more of like your super like frosty champagne, almost white shade. These have such lovely formulas. Beautiful packaging too, let's just be completely honest about that. The formula on these is really beautiful. There's no like glitteriness or chunkiness to these. They're nice and smooth. They blend so nicely into your blush. Like, I just cannot get enough of these. I actually ordered almost every single blush shade they have. I have a bronzer in this formula. Like, I love this product. So these definitely had to go in the box for me. And then the other highlights that I pulled out, again, because I think the formula is so great, were the Aether Beauty highlights. So I have the shades Pink Diamond Dust, which looks like this. Again, kind of that like peachy, pinky to gold duochrome. And I have the Pure Diamond Dust, which is more of that like silvery pink to almost like a white silver. And you can see just how reflective they are. They're very soft, like a Super Shock, but they are like just wet skin. Like, they have such a beautiful reflectiveness. Like, so that's my foundation. But I just cannot get enough of how beautiful and how natural these look for how like reflective they are. Like, they don't look like a big stripe on your face. They just create this beautiful pop of color. When I thought about highlighters, I really couldn't decide between the Aether Beauty highlighters and the Nabla highlighters, so I had to pick all of them, which is how I ended up with 4 highlighters in my bag. Alright, let's talk through some quick boring products here. For eyeshadow primer, I just picked out the Milani eye primer. This is one that I use a ton. I actually have 2 of these open at all times because I have one in my filming area, one upstairs where I do my makeup on a daily basis, like for work. And so I'm like going through these all the time. I've purchased a ton of these. I know it works really well with a variety of different formulas of eyeshadow, so I picked this out as my primer. For brows, I picked out the LA Girl Shady Slim Brow Pencil. This works really nicely. It's pretty similar to the Benefit Precisely My Brow. Very similar to that. I think it's got a good color payoff. It's only $5.99 though, which I think is a way better price than the Benefit products. So I figure, you know, for a product that I'm not gonna be using different colors in my brows, this is gonna be the same every single day. Let's keep it something consistent and drugstore. And then mascara combo. This is it. This right here is all you're ever gonna need. The Essence Volume Boosting Lash Primer and the False Lash Effect Mascara. This is the green, like minty green and black tube. This combination right here makes my lashes so long, so curled, so black. I'm obsessed. I pretty much don't purchase any other mascaras ever. I occasionally get mascaras in like beauty boxes or as free samples and things like that, and I'll gladly try another mascara, but I have not found anything drugstore, high-end luxury that beats this combination right here. So if I'm making a beauty bag and this is all I'm gonna stick with, definitely had to include these 2. Now for eyeliner, I only included the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in black. I think if I were going to have a really small collection, I would probably just have a black eyeliner. Whether it was this one or not is not really a big deal. Most like subscription boxes and gift with purchase kind of things end up giving you black liners, so that's probably what I would end up with. The only other one I could see myself gravitating towards would be a really dark blue, like the Urban Decay Sabbath eyeliner. That is a fantastic eyeliner. So if you were looking for something that's like kind of black but like not exactly black, I would check that one out, but I picked a black one for my bag. Let's talk lip products and then we'll finish off with palettes because I think that's the most exciting part. So for lip products, I picked out a bunch of different things because I have no chill. I picked out 3 lipsticks. So the first one I picked out was this MAC lipstick in Peach Blossom, which is the lipstick that I had for my wedding. And I picked it out mostly for sentimental reasons because I think if I was just going to keep a small collection of makeup, none of the rest of the makeup that I wore on my wedding day was so special to me. But I thought the MAC lipstick was special and it's something that I would continue to wear, so I did pick that one out. I also picked out the Colorish Shine lipstick in Varnished Rosewood, which is from L'Oreal. It looks like this. Emily Noel hypes these up so much, and it's just this beautiful like rosewood type shade. I really like this color. I think it's very flattering on me. I've actually used like a fair amount of it. I don't know if you can tell. You can kind of tell. But that's unusual for me because I have like 400 lip products. Like, it's just excessive. So for me to hit something so heavily, I know it's a favorite and I need to include it in this particular bag. The next one that I included, this is a tried and true. This is the NYX Butter lipstick in the shade Root Beer Float. And again, it's just this really pretty, like kind of pinky, kind of brownish nude. And I think it looks really flattering on my skin tone. I love how nice and smooth these glide onto the lips. They stay in place. They fade gracefully. I really love this formula. I think I have like 4 or 5 different lipsticks in like shades of this exact formula. So I definitely wanted to include at least one. Then I included 4 glosses. I hope Crystal is extra as I am because I could not help myself. When I was looking at everything, I was like, I need all of this. I just do. So I hope she's as extra as I am. I picked out 2 of the Maybelline Lifter glosses. This is the shade Ice and this is the shade Reef. So this one is like a pinky shade, but it has a little bit of like a peach to pink duochrome shimmer in it. It's very fine and there's not a lot to it, so you can see it in the bottle, but once you put it on your lips, it just kind of looks like a milky Your Lips But Better type appearance. It doesn't really like show that kind of duochrome nature on your lips. And then the shade Reef is just a nice neutral, like light pinky rosy kind of color. Again, Your Lips But Better. That's typically what I go for, and I typically go for either like a sheen creamy lipstick or a gloss, so that's why all of these kind of fall into that same family. And then the last 2 that I pulled out, this is Lunar Beauty Starlight, but honestly Lunar Beauty Celine, Starlight, what's the other one, Moon I think is the other one. They're all kind of these like pinky, somewhat metallic, kind of frosty nude pink type shades. I'm down for all of them. The packaging I'm obsessed with, so really any of those shades I would have been happy with. This is just the first one I came across in my drawer. And then the last one is the Lawless Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Gloss. This is one that was recommended by Samantha March, and I really like this. I love plumping lip glosses. I have the Milk, the one with the Sichuan peppercorn in it. I have the Nabla Viper Gloss. I really like those kind of numb, tingling kind of things. The Too Faced lip injections though, that gave me chemical burns, so that went too far. But short of chemical burns on my face, I like those plumping products. But this one doesn't have any of that like burning, tingling, numb, buzzing type sensation to it. It just makes your lips look a little bit fuller, and I do really like that, so I decided to include it as well as the other glosses from my collection. Alright, and let's talk eyeshadow palettes because I think that's probably the most exciting part. Now, for me, last I counted I had over 150 eyeshadow palettes, and I don't say that to be like braggadocious, but I do say it just so that you know what I'm dealing with when I sit down and try to decide what is an eyeshadow palette that's going to fit in this little bag that I can keep, right? So I actually ended up keeping 4 palettes, and most of them are fairly small. But I think they encompass a lot of the colors that I tend to gravitate towards, and I think together they would work nicely to make good color stories. And then I did pick out one eye topper because I have a ton of like loose toppers, liquid eyeshadows, shimmery products. I do have some pressed glitters. I don't use them, but they've come in, you know, boxes, whatever. And so the one that I picked out is actually the Stila Glitter and Glow in the shade Wanderlust, which is this pink to green to gold, like duochrome type shade. And when you kind of rub it out on your hand, you can pick some of it up and kind of just tap it into like the area just above your crease, and it gives this kind of like little twinkly, like kind of like pinpoints of light in that area without being metallic in that area, if that makes sense. I really like doing that on my eyeshadow looks, especially if I have like a really shimmery lid, because it just kind of brings some of that shimmer, some of that light up without making it metallic up to your eyebrows like Mimi Bobek style. So I really like this particular product for that purpose, so I included it in my makeup bag because it's small. It fit right in there. Palettes. Now I am a junkie for color. If you look at my other videos, most of what I film is color. But the ColourPop Limoncello palette really got to me. It really struck me as a beautiful color story. Yes, it is lots of warm toned neutrals, but you have this kind of olivey green, this golden like yellow metallic here, and this blue. I love all 3 of those shades as complements to the warm tones in this palette. I love this kind of dark brown shade in here. I think this is a really pretty color story. I felt like I would be remiss if I didn't include anything that was neutral, because there are occasions where you need to like tone it down a little bit. I don't know what those occasions are, but when I find one, I'll have the palette for it. When I started getting into color, so originally when I got into eyeshadow, I was like all neutrals all the time. Like you would not catch me dead in something like this. But then I started like creeping my way into color, and I think the gateway color for most of us is like pinks and purples, like mauves, because it's like close enough to your skin tone that you can kind of carry it off. It doesn't look like teal. So I wanted to pick something that was going to give me that like pinky mauvey kind of color story in addition to the nudes that I already had. So I picked out the Suva Beauty Rose Period palette, which looks like this, and I really love this color story. I feel like you have kind of a light to dark gradient. You've got a little bit that pools like warmer, you've got some stuff that pools a little cooler. I think you can make some really beautiful looks with this. You can go very soft, very natural, or you can go a little bit more like smoky glam. I really like this palette. I think it's good quality. This is the palette I had to get the bigger bag for because it's so wide. All of my smaller palettes that had similar color stories, I just felt like they weren't quite the right one. And when I found this one, I was like, yeah, that's the one I need to use. So I decided to pull that for kind of my rosy pinky colors. Now, clearly I am a fan of color at this point, and I've gotten into a lot of more like bright shades, interesting shades, colorful eye looks, and there were 2 other palettes that really stuck out in my mind as like, if I'm going to shove everything into this makeup bag and I'm only going to live out of this makeup bag for a while, what am I going to need? And so I needed something with some blues and greens in it. So I decided to get the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette out. This palette I think was $15 originally, which is like a banging price for this palette. You've got some really pretty purples here. You've got some gorgeous blues. You've got a nice black. And you've got some like kind of tealy greens in here. There are a handful of neutrals in case you need to like rock a neutral look. Again, I don't know when, but it's there. I love the silver in here. This really smoky blue shade is stunning. And this shade here called Spell, if you do a crease with all these purples and then throw Spell into it, ooh, it looks so, so pretty. I'm obsessed. So for me, the blues and greens, I needed something to represent that, and so I picked this palette out. And then the last palette, I only picked 4 palettes, you guys. Out of 150 plus palettes, I think I did okay. Don't call the cops. And so the last palette that I picked out is the ColourPop Wine and Only palette, and this is my favorite palette from ColourPop, like by far. I love the kind of like smoky burgundy-ness of this palette. I had a look very similar to this color story on today, but it wasn't using this palette because this palette was in my bag for this video. But I really love the look of this palette. I love this shade down here. It looks so pretty and it reflects so nicely on the lids. Like, my favorite. So I figured if I was going to have those other palettes that I had already included, this would be a really nice complement to those palettes, but I could also use this palette individually and make like a really vampy, bold, kind of like red burgundy look that I could also really enjoy. So so with that said, that is everything that I would put in my makeup bag if I had to go back to living out of a makeup bag. You guys are going to have to let me know in a comment down below if you only have like a small makeup bag worth of products. What are the products that you keep going back to? What's in that makeup bag of yours? I really want to know. What are those like tried and true, never fail you, ride or die kind of products? I would really love to know down in the comments. Definitely make sure you check out Crystal's channel and you can catch her video to see what she included. I'm excited to see what she included too, because I might be shopping her list. Depends on what she put in that bag. I want to thank you again so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!